first thing with Cain. The second thing is how did the races come about? Well, Adam and Eve had all this genetic diversity. Okay? They had this dominant recessive in every case. Now, I said skin color is generally controlled by 2 genes. If you have double dominant, your skin is the darkest black you can get. If you have double recessive, it's Scandinavian white, okay, for extremely pale skin. And then all the combinations in between of those genes are going to give you all different gradations of skin color, okay? All it is doing is regulating the amount of melanin, because we all have the same skin color. We just have a different quantity of the melanin that determines how dark or light we are, okay? But then there's other groups of people in the world, the Native Americans, who have a reddish tinge to their color. It's in the genes, but it's not in the skin color gene, it's in a different gene. It's in a gene that regulates where the capillaries are in the blood system, okay? In the Native American peoples, the capillaries are closer to the skin than everybody else. So they have a reddish tinge in their body. Okay, the Oriental peoples, almond-shaped eyes, yellowish tinge of the skin. It's in the genes again. And what's in the genes here is simply that the layer of fat that's below the skin level on most of us, in their case, is much higher. Fat in the human body is a yellowish color, so they get a yellowish tinge to their skin, and they get that uniquely shaped eyes because that's where the fat is in their particular genetic structure. So it's always in the genes, and it's always related to the genetic diversity of the parents. So it comes through the parent line. Now, the second thing is, therefore, there really aren't any races. We're all sons of Adam and Eve, okay? The racist concept comes about as a result of the work that Darwin does. Because the people take Darwin's work now and say, well, because men are descended from apes, they start with that presupposition, that idea that they know men are descended from apes, therefore, the different peoples must be different distances from the ape. So they say, white Europeans write in the textbooks, they're on top, right? It's obvious, that's where they put themselves. And then the yellow peoples and the brown peoples and the black peoples and the Aboriginal peoples. So the white Europeans went to Aboriginal Australia, actually to Tasmania, went to the island of Tasmania, took out their weapons and shot the Tasmanians down in cold blood. And what did they do? They sent their skulls back to European museums as artifacts of evolution. That happened. Genocide was practiced in the name of evolution in the 17th and 18th century. So it's really a question of the genetics. It's always in the genes, and the genes are always determined by the unity of the DNA of the 2 parents. So the diversity of humankind is incredible. 2 individuals with unique genetics, any 2 individuals with unique genetics, would have to have a certain number of children before they could have an identical twin, okay? Identical twins happen when an egg splits and an identical twin is formed. But to have an identical twin without having the egg split, that is to have the same genetics in 2 individuals, the possibility of that happening is you'd have to have 2 to the 2017th power children. That is 2 followed by 2017 zeros. That many children before you could have identical twin. That's how diverse human genomes are. That's why you say every person has got to be unique, unless they have an identical twin. And that's a quirk, if you will, of God's providence. Okay, a long explanation for a simple question. But those are important questions, because if you understand the genetics and you understand the relationship of mankind, then you can deal with the issue of differences between people, because those differences are cultural, not racial. If we could figure that out in this country, we could solve a lot of problems, because my city is racked with racial problems. I live in the South, and it's racked with racial problems. And those problems spring out of a history that no one will face the reality, that they really are all brothers and sisters. They are